Clocker. The alarm clock was a very grumpy fellow. His job was to wake up the small human every single morning. Beep, 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 he would shout. And what did he get for his troubles? Whack! A sleepy hand would slam down on his snooze button. Every day it was the same old story. He felt terribly unappreciated and rather bashed about. Honestly, it was enough to make anyone's springs unspring. Ouch, Clocker would think, his little bells still ringing. My poor head, my poor buttons. He ticked and he tocked with a sigh. He was so very tired of being walloped. He dreamt of a quiet life, a peaceful existence. Perhaps on a dusty shelf or in a forgotten drawer, anywhere but next to that flailing, sleepy small human. A nice, long rest was all he ever wished for. One Tuesday, the whack was particularly enthusiastic. It was followed by a sleepy mumble of, "Ugh, stupid clock." Clocker felt his mainspring twang in indignation. "Right," he buzzed, so quietly no one could hear. "That is absolutely, positively it. I've had enough." He made a momentous decision right there and then. "Tonight," he vowed, his tiny hands quivering, "I'm off, I'm escaping." He was very, very serious this time, you see. Clocker began to formulate his daring plan. It had to be clever, it had to be foolproof. He would wait until the house was cloaked in shadows, wait until the small human was lost in dreamland, probably chasing space unicorns. Then with a click and a whir, he would make his bid for freedom. He shivered his little clock hands, a mixture of fear and fizzing excitement. This was going to be the biggest adventure of his life. A life free from morning whacks and sleepy grumbles. The moon hung in the sky like a giant silver coin. The small human was snoring, a gentle wheezy sound. "Now's the time," Clocker whispered to himself. He took a deep metallic breath. If clocks can do that. He wiggled his base, he wobbled precariously. Then, with a final brave tilt, he tipped himself right off the bedside table. Thump! He landed with a surprisingly soft bump on the fluffy rug. He was free. Well, free from the table at least. He began to tiptoe, or rather tick-toe, across the shadowy room. Tick-tock, tick-tock, each step softer than a mouse's sneeze. Suddenly he bumped into something rather unexpected. Something soft, something long, and if he was honest, a little bit whiffy. "Oof, hello? Is anyone there?" came a muffled, woolly voice. It was an old sock, looking rather forlorn under the bed. He'd clearly been there for ages, dreaming of his missing partner. Quite lonely, really, and covered in a bit of fluff. "It's me, Clocker," he whispered back, his voice barely a tick. "I'm running away from the morning whacks." Old Sock gave a hopeful sort of wriggle. "Running away? Oh, can I come with you?" he pleaded. "I'm ever so tired of being just one sock. It's no fun at all." Before Clocker could answer, a sleepy whir came from the corner. There sat Dusty Fan, his blades drooping sadly. He hadn't felt a good breeze or spun with joy for months. He longed for an adventure, or at least a good dusting. Huddled near the bedroom door like nervous explorers, they found another soul. It was a mug with a little crack running down its side. Mug looked terribly worried, his ceramic lip trembling. "They're going to throw me out soon?" he sniffled, a tiny tear. Or was it old tea, trickling? "Just because of this silly little crack? It's not fair." Clocker, Old Sock and Dusty Fan exchanged glances. They understood. "Then you must come with us," chirped Clocker, feeling braver with his new friends. "We're an escape team now. The Unloved and Unwanted Brigade." Mug managed a wobbly, hopeful smile. Perhaps things would be all right after all. "Right then, team," ticked Clocker, trying to sound like a brave leader. "Operation Freedom is a go. First plan, Operation Big Blow." Dusty Fan perked up, his blades twitching with excitement. "Leave it to me." He took a very deep mechanical breath, or whatever fans do, and then whoosh! A giant cloud of dust erupted. It billowed around them like a spooky fog. "Achoo!" sneezed Old Sock, bits of fluff flying everywhere. Clocker's hands spun like a Catherine wheel, but they didn't actually move forward an inch. Said Clocker, wiping a speck of dust from his shiny face. "Perhaps not the big blow. New plan, Operation Rollout." Old Sock bounced up and down, as much as a sock can. "Yes, we can roll to the door." Clocker was perfectly round, so that was a good start. Mug was roundish too, though a bit wobbly on his base. Old Sock could be scrunched into a sort of ball. Dusty Fan tried to roll, he just sort of clunked and then fell over. It was quite funny, so Clocker took the lead, rolling with surprising speed, bowing, bowing, bowing. Mug wobbled along behind, his crack making him veer off course. Oh dear, he cried as he bumped into a toy soldier. Old Sock flopped and flumped, making slow but steady progress. They were doing it. They were actually moving until crash! They all piled into a forgotten giant teddy bear. It didn't roar, but it certainly stopped them in their tracks. They weren't getting very far, but they were starting to giggle. "One more try?" whirred Dusty Fan, undeterred by their previous failures. He had another brilliant, if slightly bonkers, idea. "Old Sock can be our super-strong rope. And I," he puffed out his fan chest, "shall be the amazing whirly-pulley thing." They attempted to rig up a sort of zip line from a rather wobbly dressing table chair to the door handle. Clocker held onto Old Sock for dear life. Mug closed his eyes tight. Whoops! With a twang and a thud, they all ended up in a heap. Tangled, dusty, but definitely laughing now. Meanwhile, upstairs, the first rays of morning sun peeked through the curtains. The small human, whose name was Sam, began to stir. He stretched out a sleepy arm, ready for the usual morning routine. Whack! His hand hit nothing but empty air. Sam sat bolt upright, his eyes blinking open properly now. "Clocker!" he called out, his voice a bit croaky. The room was strangely quiet, far too quiet for a school morning. A funny, wriggly feeling started in Sam's tummy. It felt a lot like worry. Sam scrambled out of his warm bed, all sleepiness instantly gone. "Clocker! Where are you?" he called, a little louder this time. He looked under the bed, scattering some dust bunnies. He peeked in the toy cupboard amongst the dragons and robots. No Clocker. Then his eyes fell upon a strange sight. There, huddled near the top of the big scary stairs, was a peculiar group. Clocker, Old Sock, Dusty Fan and Cracked Mug, all looking very small and very, very scared, about to make their grand descent. "Clocker!" Sam whispered, rushing over to the top of the stairs. He looked at Clocker's determined little face, and then at his equally determined, if slightly wobbly, friends. He saw how sad Clocker looked, and suddenly Sam felt incredibly sad too. "Oh, Clocker!" Sam said, his voice much smaller than usual. "I'm so sorry I hit you every morning. Really, I am." He sniffled a bit. "I don't mean to be horrid, honestly. It's hard to wake up. I need you, Clocker." He really did. Mornings wouldn't be the same without Clocker's beep, beep, beep. Clocker's ticks, which had been fast and anxious, suddenly went soft and slow. A warm, happy feeling spread through his springs and cogs. Appreciation. Sam gently picked Clocker up, holding him carefully. "Please stay," Sam asked, his eyes wide and hopeful. "Please?" Clocker looked at Old Sock, Dusty Fan and Cracked Mug, who all gave him encouraging nods and whirs. He looked back at Sam. Then, with all his might, he gave a happy, loud, cheerful tick. He would stay. Of course he would stay. The next morning, Clocker proudly displayed a brand new, tiny sign, neatly printed by "Sam do not hit, say thank you," and Sam always did.